The alarm bells rang through the control center of Border Station Alpha 7. Commander Kellix rushed to his station, his forearms moving quickly across the control panels. Something had crossed into Zephyrian space without permission. What do we have? Kellix asked his sensor operator. Unknown ship, sir. Small size. Came through the border near Kepler 442b about 10 minutes ago. The young officer's scales showed nervous colors. It's not responding to our signals. Kellix looked at the main screen. A single dot moved slowly through their space. The ship looked tiny compared to Imperial vessels. Probably some lost trader or explorer from the Outer Rim. Send a warning message and order them to leave. The communications officer tried several times. Each message went out in different languages. No response came back. Sir, the ship is moving toward our inner systems, the sensor operator reported. It's not turning around. Then we'll make it turn around. Kellix activated his command channel. This is Border Command to Admiral Vextar. We have an unauthorized ship in Sector 7. Please intercept and remove. Admiral Vextar sat on the bridge of his flagship, the Pride of Zephyr. He was old for a Zephyrian, with battle scars covering his gray skin. He had fought in 20 campaigns for the Empire. A single lost ship seemed like a boring job. How many ships do you want to take, Admiral? His first officer asked. Just the usual patrol group. 12 ships should be more than enough for one small vessel. Vextar stood up from his command chair. Let's go see what kind of fool decided to wander into Imperial space. The patrol squadron moved toward the unknown ship. As they got closer, their sensors got better readings. The vessel was strange. It had a long, narrow body with weapons mounted along its sides. The design was unlike anything in Imperial databases. Sir, I'm getting odd readings from that ship, the sensor chief reported. Sometimes it looks like a small corvette. Other times the readings spike like it's much bigger. Sensor malfunction, Vextar said. Fix it. I've checked 3 times, sir. The readings keep changing. Vextar studied the screen. The ship continued moving toward Imperial space without any sign of fear. Most species would run when they saw Imperial warships coming. This one kept flying straight ahead. Open a channel, Vextar ordered. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. You have violated Imperial space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was calm, almost bored. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Retribution. We're here about the Procyon incident. The bridge fell silent. Nobody on Vextar's ship had heard of Earth or humans. The Admiral checked his memory files quickly. Procyon rang a bell, but just barely. Captain Chen, you will surrender your vessel immediately. I don't know what Procyon is, but you are in Imperial space without permission. Procyon was a research station, the human voice replied. Your ships attacked it 6 months ago. 847 people died. Scientists, families, children. We want the ones who gave that order. Vextar finally remembered. There had been a small action near the border. Some primitive species had built a station too close to Imperial space. The local commander had destroyed it as a warning to others. It was so minor that it barely made the reports. That was a legal military action against a potential threat, Vextar said. Those people should not have built in Imperial space. They weren't in Imperial space, Captain Chen replied. They were in their own system, 50 light-years from your border. Your ships traveled there specifically to kill them. The Admiral felt a chill run down his spine. The human voice carried something cold and dangerous. Not anger exactly, but something worse, purpose. Regardless, you will surrender your ship now. No. That single word hung in the air. In 300 years of Imperial expansion, no one had ever simply said no to an Admiral's demand for surrender. Sir, the weapons officer called out. Should I target their ship? Vextar looked at the screen again. The human vessel, the Retribution, continued flying toward Imperial space. It showed no signs of running or preparing for battle. It just kept moving forward like nothing could stop it. How big is that ship? Vextar asked. About 300 meters long, sir. Much smaller than our destroyers. Crew size? Unknown, but probably around 200 based on the ship's size. Vextar had 12 ships with over 5,000 crew total. The human ship was outnumbered and outgunned by every measure. So why did he feel nervous? Captain Chen, he tried once more. You are facing 12 Imperial warships. You cannot win this fight. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Admiral, came the reply. You killed 847 innocent people. Did you really think no one would come looking for answers? That action was taken by local commanders. I was not involved. But you represent the Empire that gave those orders. You can fix this. Hand over the ones responsible and we'll leave your space. Vextar almost laughed. One small ship making demands of the Imperial Navy? You must be insane. Not insane, Admiral. Just human. The way she said that word made Vextar's scales itch. Like being human meant something special. Something dangerous, sir, his first officer whispered. Should we check our files for information about these humans? Do it, Vextar ordered quietly. Then he spoke louder. Captain Chen, you have 1 minute to change course and leave Imperial space. After that, we will open fire. You can try, came the reply. Vextar waited for threats or pleading. Instead, the human ship just kept flying. Its course never changed. Its speed stayed steady. It was like watching a predator that knew it couldn't be stopped. Sir, the intelligence officer called out. I found something about humans in the old files. It's not much, just warnings from some of the Outer Rim species. What kind of warnings? They say humans are dangerous, sir. Not because they're strong or have good weapons. Because when you hurt them, they don't stop coming. Ever. Vextar felt his confidence slip. That's just primitive superstition. Maybe, sir. But 3 different species sent the same warning. They all said the same thing. Don't hurt humans unless you're ready to fight forever. On the screen, the human ship grew larger as it approached. It still showed no signs of fear or preparation for battle. Captain Chen's voice came through the speakers one more time. Admiral, last chance. We want justice for Procyon. Give us the commanders who ordered that attack, and this ends peacefully. Vextar looked around his bridge. His crew was nervous now. Even his veterans looked uncertain. They were trained to fight other Imperial species. Big fleets, formal battles, enemies who followed the rules. This felt different. Time's up, Captain. Prepare to die. Wrong answer, Captain Chen replied. That was when Vextar realized his mistake. The human ship wasn't running because it didn't need to run. It wasn't afraid because it had no reason to be afraid. And now he was about to find out why. The Retribution continued its steady course toward the heart of the Empire, and for the first time in his long career, Admiral Vextar wondered if 12 ships would be enough. Admiral Vextar ordered his ships to attack positions around the human vessel. 12 Imperial warships spread out in a battle formation that had crushed enemies for centuries. The human ship, the Retribution, sat in the middle like a small fish surrounded by sharks. Fire a warning shot across their bow, Vextar commanded. Maybe they'll come to their senses. A bright blue plasma bolt streaked past the front of the human ship. It was close enough to make the hull glow from the heat. Most species would surrender immediately after such a display of power. The Retribution kept flying straight ahead. Sir, the communications officer reported. They're not responding to the warning shot. Vextar stared at the screen. In his experience, there were 2 types of enemies. Smart ones who surrendered when outgunned, and stupid ones who died fighting. The humans seemed to be in a 3rd category he had never seen before. Meanwhile, across Imperial space, emergency messages flew between command centers. Every intelligence officer was searching their databases for information about humans. What they found made the Empire's leaders very nervous. On the capital world of Zephyr Prime, General Thakmor read through the old files with growing concern. The reports came from species at the edge of Imperial space. They all told similar stories about humans. They're not like other species, one report said. They don't build the biggest ships or have the strongest weapons. But when you hurt their people, they come for you. They never stop, never give up, never forget. Another file contained a warning from the Calarian Trade Federation. We made the mistake of attacking a human merchant ship. We thought one small vessel meant nothing. 3 months later, human warships appeared in our home system. They didn't come to conquer. They came for justice. They knew the names of every person killed on that merchant ship. They wanted the pirates who did it, and they wouldn't leave until they got them. General Thakmor called the Emperor immediately. Your Imperial Majesty, we may have a serious problem with this human ship. Emperor Zythak was not worried. He was used to threats from primitive species. 1 ship, General. How serious can it be? Sir, I've been reading old intelligence reports. The humans are different. They don't seem to care about odds or conventional military thinking. When they want something, they just keep coming until they get it. Nonsense. Admiral Vextar has 12 ships. He'll destroy this human vessel and we'll be done with it. But even as the Emperor spoke, reports came in from the battle site. The human ship was still alive, still moving toward Imperial space. Back at the battle, Admiral Vextar was losing his patience. He had fired warning shots, made threats, and shown overwhelming force. Nothing worked. Target their engines, he ordered. Disable that ship. 6 plasma cannons fired at once. The bolts should have crippled any vessel that size. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ship's defensive systems activated. Small turrets popped out all over the Retribution's hull. They moved with incredible speed and precision. Each plasma bolt was met by defensive fire that either destroyed it or knocked it off course. Not one shot reached the human ship. What in the name of the void was that? Vextar's weapons officer gasped. Point defense systems, the sensor operator reported. But I've never seen anything that accurate before. Vextar watched in amazement as the human ship continued flying. Its defensive systems had stopped a full attack from 6 Imperial warships without taking any damage. Captain Chen's voice came through the speakers again. Admiral, you're making this harder than it needs to be. We don't want to fight you. We want the people who ordered the attack on Procyon. How did you stop our weapons? Vextar demanded. We've been fighting wars for 10,000 years, Admiral. We learned a few things about defense. That number hit Vextar like a punch. 10,000 years of war? Most species had maybe a few centuries of real military experience. The Zephyrian Empire was only 800 years old. Sir, his intelligence officer called out urgently. I'm getting reports from across the Empire. 3 different species are refusing to send ships to help us. What? Why? They say they've heard stories about humans. They don't want to be part of this fight. Vextar felt his confidence cracking. Species that had been loyal to the Empire for generations were suddenly afraid to fight one human ship. On the planet Kelax 4, the governor received orders to send his defense fleet to help stop the human ship. Governor Yultar was a member of the Kelaxian species, conquered by the Empire 50 years ago. He read the orders 3 times before making a decision that surprised even himself. No, he told his aide. We will not send our ships. Sir, the Empire has ordered us to help. The Empire ordered us to help destroy a ship that's seeking justice for murdered innocents. I won't be part of that. Similar conversations happened on a dozen worlds. Species that had been conquered and forced to serve the Empire suddenly remembered what justice meant. The human ship was doing something none of them had dared to try, standing up to Imperial bullies. Back at the battle, Admiral Vextar tried a different approach. All ships surround the human vessel. Fire everything at once. Overwhelm their defenses. The 12 Imperial ships moved into position. Vextar counted down from 5. On his mark, every weapon in the squadron fired at the same target. The space around the Retribution lit up like a star. Dozens of plasma bolts, missile warheads, and energy beams converged on the human ship. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. When the light faded, the Retribution was still there. Its point defense systems had worked overtime, destroying or deflecting everything the Imperials could throw at it. The human ship hadn't even slowed down. Impossible, Vextar whispered. Admiral, Captain Chen's voice was still calm, still patient. You're embarrassing yourself. We told you we're here about Procyon. We told you we want justice. You can keep firing your weapons if it makes you feel better, but it won't change anything. What are you? Vextar asked. We're humans, Admiral. We're the species that survived 10 millennia of war against ourselves. We're the people who learned that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. And right now we're here because 847 innocent people were murdered in the name of your empire. Vextar looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at their instruments in disbelief. Their best weapons had done nothing to the human ship. Sir, his first officer whispered. What do we do now? Before Vextar could answer, alarms started ringing across his ship. His sensor operator's voice cracked with fear. Admiral, we're getting reports from across the Empire. The human ship's path is being broadcast on all communication channels. And, sir? Other species are starting to revolt. What do you mean, revolt? 3 colony worlds have declared independence. They're saying if humans can stand up to the Empire, so can they. Vextar felt the weight of disaster settling on his shoulders. One human ship had not only survived his attack, but was causing the Empire to fall apart just by existing. Captain Chen spoke one more time. Admiral, we're going to continue toward your capital. We suggest you get out of our way. And maybe start thinking about whether you want to be remembered as the officer who helped cover up the murder of innocents, or the one who helped deliver justice. The Retribution resumed its course toward the heart of Imperial space, leaving 12 confused and frightened warships in its wake. The news of Admiral Vextar's failed attack spread through Imperial space faster than the human ship traveled. On every world and every space station, people talked about the impossible sight. One small vessel that had shrugged off the attack of 12 Imperial warships. Emperor Zethak paced in his throne room, his massive form casting long shadows on the polished floor. Reports kept coming in, each one worse than the last. Your Majesty, General Thakmor entered with the latest intelligence reports. The situation is getting worse. 4 more worlds have declared independence. The Calaxians are openly refusing orders, and the human ship is still coming. One ship, the Emperor roared. How can one ship cause this much trouble? It's not just the ship, sir. It's what it represents. For the first time, someone is standing up to us and winning. Other species are starting to believe they can do the same. The Emperor's advisor, a thin creature named Silek, spoke quietly. Perhaps we should consider their demands, Your Majesty. They only want the commanders who attacked their research station. Never. Zethak slammed his fist on the throne. If we give in to one demand, every species in the galaxy will think they can make demands of us. Meanwhile, the Retribution continued its steady path through Imperial space. Captain Sarah Chen stood on her bridge, watching the star charts update as they moved deeper into enemy territory. Captain, her communications officer reported, we're receiving hundreds of messages from across Imperial space. Most are from conquered species expressing support. Any responses from Imperial Command? No official responses, ma'am. But our intelligence section is picking up a lot of emergency communications. The Empire is mobilizing their 3rd fleet, Chen nodded. She had expected this. How many ships? The latest count is over 100 vessels, Captain. They're being led by Emperor Zethak himself. Chen's expression didn't change. Good. That means we'll get to talk directly to the person responsible. Her first officer, Commander Rodriguez, looked concerned. Captain, 100 ships is a lot different from 12. The math doesn't matter, Commander. Either we're right or we're wrong. If we're right, the number of ships they send won't change anything. On the bridge's main screen, a new message appeared. It wasn't from Imperial Command, but from one of the conquered species. Human ship Retribution, this is Governor Yultar of Kelax 4. We want you to know that many of us support what you're doing. For too long, we've watched the Empire hurt innocent people. Someone finally has the courage to demand justice. More messages followed. From the Rigelian colonies, the Altair mining worlds, even from some Zephyrian military officers who were tired of following immoral orders. Captain Chen activated the ship's general communications array. Her message would reach every planet, every ship, every space station in the surrounding systems. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Retribution. 6 months ago, Imperial forces attacked a human research station called Procyon. The people there were scientists studying star formation. They had families with them. Children. They were no threat to anyone. Her voice carried across space, reaching millions of beings. 847 people died in that attack. The Empire called it a minor border action. To us, it was the murder of innocents. We know the names of everyone who died. We remember their faces, their families, their dreams. On countless worlds, people stopped what they were doing to listen. We're not here to conquer anyone. We're not here to start a war. We're here because justice matters. Because innocent life has value. Because when someone kills our people for no reason, we come looking for answers. Emperor Zethak watched the broadcast from his command ship as the 3rd Fleet assembled. Around him, his generals and admirals looked nervous. She's turning this into something bigger than a military action, General Thakmor observed. She's making it about moral authority. Morality is a luxury for the weak, the Emperor replied. We'll destroy her ship and end this nonsense. But even as he spoke, more bad news arrived. 3 more star systems had declared independence. Several Imperial commanders had resigned their commissions rather than fight the human ship. The rebellion was spreading. The Retribution reached the outer edge of the Altair system where a small Imperial garrison waited. The base commander, Captain Feltor, had received orders to stop the human ship at all costs. Human vessel, this is Altair base. You will stop and surrender immediately. Captain Chen's response was broadcast on all frequencies so every ship and station in the system could hear it. Altair Base, this is Captain Chen. We're here about Procyon. Your empire murdered 847 innocent people. We want the officers who gave that order. Stand aside and no one gets hurt. Captain Feltor had 20 ships under his command. He looked at his tactical display, remembering the reports of Admiral Vextar's defeat. Human ship, I have orders to stop you. Captain Feltor, Chen replied, using his name, which surprised him. I can see your service record. 23 years in the Imperial Navy. You fought pirates, defended trade routes, rescued civilians from disasters. You're a good officer. Don't throw your life away protecting the people who ordered the murder of innocents. Feltor hesitated. He had read the reports about Procyon. The attack had bothered him even then. There had been no military reason for it. My orders are clear, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Your orders come from people who kill civilians and call it policy. You have a choice, Captain. You can follow those orders and attack us, or you can step aside and let justice be served. On Feltor's bridge, his officers waited for orders. Several looked uncomfortable. The story of Procyon had spread through the Imperial military, and many officers were questioning the Empire's actions. Sir, his first officer said quietly, what if she's right? What if we're protecting murderers? Feltor stared at the human ship on his screen. It wasn't impressive to look at. Smaller than most Imperial vessels with no obvious superweapons, but somehow it had walked through the Empire's defenses like they didn't exist. All ships, he finally announced. Stand down. Let the human vessel pass, sir. His weapons officer asked in confusion. You heard me. Stand down. The 20 Imperial ships moved aside, creating a clear path for the retribution. As the human ship passed, Captain Chen sent a brief message. Thank you, Captain Feltor. History will remember that you chose justice over politics. Word of Feltor's decision spread quickly. An Imperial captain had refused to fight the human ship. More officers began questioning their orders. The rebellion grew stronger. On his command ship, Emperor Zythak received the news with rage. Court-martial Captain Feltor immediately. Sir, General Thakmore said carefully, if we start court-martialing officers for refusing to fight, we might not have an army left. The Emperor realized the truth in those words. The human ship wasn't just threatening Imperial military power. It was threatening something much more important, the Empire's moral authority. And without that, the whole system would collapse. How long until the Third Fleet is ready? He asked. 2 hours, Your Majesty. Then we end this in 2 hours. That human ship has caused enough trouble. But deep down, Emperor Zythak was beginning to wonder if it was already too late. The humans had done something no enemy had ever accomplished. They had made the Empire's own people question whether the Empire deserved to exist. The retribution continued its journey toward the Imperial capital. And with each light year traveled, the galaxy changed a little more. The Third Fleet of the Zephyrian Empire was the largest military force ever assembled in this part of the galaxy. 137 warships, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to fast attack cruisers. Emperor Zythak himself commanded from the bridge of the Eternal Glory, a ship so large it could carry a small city. Status report, the Emperor demanded as he settled into his command throne. All ships are in position, Your Majesty, Admiral Kreshta reported. We have the human vessel surrounded in the Centauri system. There's no escape. Emperor Zythak studied the tactical display. The single human ship sat in the center of the formation like a tiny insect surrounded by giants. It seemed impossible that something so small had caused so much trouble. Any word from our rebellious worlds? He asked. General Thakmore's expression was grim. 17 systems have now declared independence, Your Majesty. More are threatening to follow. The situation is getting worse by the hour. Then we'll make an example of this human ship. When the galaxy sees what happens to those who defy the Empire, order will be restored. But even as the Emperor spoke, more bad news arrived. Admiral Vextar, the officer who had first encountered the retribution, was sending a message to Imperial Command. Your Majesty, Vextar's image appeared on the communication screen. I request permission to speak with you privately. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Speak, Admiral. Sir, I've been thinking about my encounter with the human ship. I've read their files, studied their history. These humans, they're not like other species we've fought. They're primitives with one small ship. No, sir. They're survivors. Their own planet produced dozens of warrior cultures over thousands of years. They've been fighting wars since before our civilization existed. And, sir, they don't fight for conquest or resources. They fight for principles. Emperor Zithak felt a chill. What are you saying, Admiral? I'm saying that ship down there represents something we've never faced before. A species that will cross the galaxy to seek justice for their dead. They're not here to win a war, Your Majesty. They're here to prove a point. The point will be proven when we destroy them. Sir, with respect, I don't think we can destroy them. Not because of their weapons or shields, but because of what they represent. Half my crew is asking why we're protecting the officers who ordered the Procyon attack. They want to know why we're fighting people who are seeking justice for murdered civilians. The Emperor cut the transmission in anger, but Vextar's words stayed with him. Across the fleet, similar conversations were happening. Imperial officers were questioning their orders for the first time in generations. On the Retribution, Captain Chen watched the massive fleet surrounding her ship. Her bridge crew was calm, professional, focused. They had known this moment would come. Captain, her tactical officer reported, I count 137 enemy vessels. They have us completely surrounded. Any attempts at communication? No, ma'am. They're maintaining radio silence. Chen activated the general communication system. Her voice would reach every ship in the Imperial fleet. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Retribution. I'm speaking to every officer and crew member in the Imperial Third Fleet. You've been ordered to destroy my ship, because we came seeking justice for 847 murdered civilians. Across the Imperial fleet, thousands of beings listened. I want you to think about why you joined your military. Was it to protect innocent people? To serve justice? To make the galaxy a safer place? Or was it to help cover up the murder of scientists and children? On the bridge of the Eternal Glory, Emperor Zithak's communications officer looked uncomfortable. Sir, should we jam their transmission? Let them talk, the Emperor said grimly. Their words won't save them from our weapons. But Captain Chen's words were having an effect the Emperor didn't expect. 6 months ago, your empire sent ships to destroy a research station. The people there were studying stars, learning how the universe works. They had brought their families because they thought they were safe. 50 light years from any conflict. On dozens of Imperial ships, crew members stopped their work to listen. Your commanders called it a necessary action. They said the research station was a potential threat, but we have the records. We know what really happened. An Imperial captain decided to make an example. He wanted to show other species what happened when they built anything near Imperial space. Captain Chen paused, letting the words sink in. 847 people died because one man wanted to send a message. Researchers, engineers, doctors, teachers, parents and grandparents, 63 children under the age of 16. The silence across the fleet was complete now. We know their names. We've memorized their faces. We came here to ask a simple question. Why did they have to die? And we want a simple answer. Justice for those who ordered their deaths. Emperor Zithak had heard enough. All ships prepare to fire. Target the human vessel. But something unexpected happened. Several ships in the fleet didn't acknowledge the order. Your Majesty, Admiral Kreshta reported with confusion. Some of our captains are not responding. What do you mean, not responding? 18 ships have gone silent, sir. They're not following orders. On one of those ships, Captain Velimar of the Imperial destroyer Righteous Fury sat in his command chair, staring at the human vessel on his screen. Sir, his weapons officer asked, should we target the human ship? No, Velimar said quietly. I will not fire on people seeking justice for murdered children. Sir, you heard me. Stand down, weapons. Similar scenes played out across the fleet. Imperial officers were making a choice between following orders and following their conscience. Your Majesty, General Thakmore reported urgently. We now have 47 ships refusing to participate in the attack. Emperor Zithak's rage was building. Court-martial them all. Sir, if we court-martial a third of our fleet, we'll cause a complete military rebellion. The Emperor realized he was trapped. The human ship had done something impossible. It had turned his own forces against him without firing a shot. Captain Chen's voice came through the speakers again. Emperor Zithak, I know you're listening. You have a choice to make. You can order your remaining ships to attack us, and watch your empire tear itself apart as more officers refuse to fight for injustice. Or you can do the right thing. And what? The Emperor asked through gritted teeth. Do you consider the right thing? Justice. Hand over the officers who ordered the Procyon attack. Let them face trial for what they did. Show the galaxy that the Zephyrian Empire can admit when it's wrong and make things right. The Emperor looked around his bridge. His officers avoided his gaze. Even his most loyal supporters looked uncertain. And if I refuse? Then we'll continue to the capital. We'll broadcast the names and faces of every person killed at Procyon to every world in your empire. We'll ask your people if those deaths were necessary. And we'll keep asking until someone gives us an answer. Emperor Zathak realized that the human captain had already won, not through superior firepower or tactical brilliance, but through something much more dangerous: moral authority. She had forced the empire to choose between its power and its conscience. And for the first time in 8 centuries, the empire's conscience was winning. The standoff in the Centauri system had lasted 12 hours. Emperor Zathak sat on his command throne, watching his empire fall apart around him. Reports kept coming in from across imperial space. More worlds declaring independence, more military units refusing orders, more species demanding their freedom. Your Majesty, Admiral Cressida approached carefully. We now have 68 ships refusing to target the human vessel. The rebellion is spreading through the entire fleet. The Emperor closed his eyes. In one day, a single human ship had accomplished what centuries of rebellion had failed to do. It had broken the Empire's will to fight. Sir, General Takmor added quietly, we're receiving requests for asylum from 17 different species. They're asking Earth for protection from Imperial retaliation. Earth? The Emperor asked. How many humans are there? According to our intelligence, about 12 billion on their homeworld, with colonies on 47 other planets. Emperor Zathak felt the blood drain from his face. He had been thinking of humans as a small primitive species. The reality was very different. Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system again. Emperor, you've had time to consider our request. What's your decision? For a long moment, the Emperor said nothing. Then he made a choice that surprised everyone, including himself. Captain Chen, I want to speak with you directly, face to face, and that can be arranged. Will you come to my ship, or should I come to yours? The idea of the Emperor boarding an enemy vessel was unthinkable, but the idea of bringing a human onto his flagship was equally dangerous. If his own crew saw him negotiating with the enemy, I'll come to your ship, he said finally. The Emperor's shuttle docked with the Retribution an hour later. As he walked through the human ship's corridors, he was struck by how different it felt from Imperial vessels. Everything was functional, efficient, built for purpose rather than display. Captain Chen met him in the ship's conference room. She was smaller than he had expected, but her eyes held a determination that made the Emperor uncomfortable. Your Imperial Majesty, she said with a slight nod. Thank you for coming. Captain Chen, I want to understand what you really want here. Justice for the 847 people killed at Procyon. Nothing more, nothing less. The Emperor studied her face. You've destroyed my empire for 800 people? Your empire destroyed itself, Your Majesty. We just showed the galaxy what you really were. And what are we? Captain Chen activated a holographic display. Images appeared of the Procyon research station before the attack. Scientists working in laboratories, families eating dinner together, children playing in the station's gardens. These were the people your forces killed, she said. Dr. Sarah Martinez, who was working on clean energy solutions. Engineer James Park and his wife Lisa with their twin daughters. Professor Chen Wei, who was my cousin. The Emperor stared at the faces. They looked so ordinary, so innocent. Your captain said they were a potential threat. What threat did these children pose to your empire? Emperor Zathak had no answer. We humans have a saying, Captain Chen continued. Justice delayed is justice denied. We've been very patient. We've traveled across the galaxy, given your empire every chance to do the right thing. Now we need an answer. What happens if I refuse? Then we continue to your capital world. We broadcast the story of Procyon to every planet in your empire. We ask your people if this is the kind of government they want to support, and we keep asking until someone gives us justice. The Emperor realized he was cornered. And if I agree to your demands? Then we take the officers responsible for the Procyon attack back to Earth for trial. They'll be treated fairly, given proper legal representation. If they're found guilty, they'll be punished according to human law. That's all? That's all we ever wanted. Emperor Zethak was quiet for a long time. Then he asked the question that had been bothering him since this began. Why? Why cross the galaxy for 800 people? Your species has billions. Why risk everything for so few? Captain Chen's expression softened slightly. Because every life matters, Your Majesty. Because when someone kills our people, we remember. Because if we don't seek justice for the 847, who will seek justice for the next 847? The Emperor finally understood. The humans weren't fighting for territory or resources or political advantage. They were fighting for a principle that most species had forgotten, that innocent life had value no matter how small or far away. I'll need to discuss this with my advisors, he said. Of course. But Your Majesty, while you're discussing, remember that every hour you delay, more of your empire falls apart. Your own people are choosing justice over loyalty. That should tell you something. The Emperor returned to his flagship to find chaos. Admiral Vextar had arrived with most of his squadron and was openly supporting the human demands. 3 more star systems had declared independence. Half the Third Fleet was now refusing to follow orders. Your Majesty, General Thakmore reported, we have a choice. We can try to fight this rebellion and probably lose everything, or we can accept the human demands and try to rebuild something better. Emperor Zethak looked around his bridge. His officers were watching him, waiting for a decision that would define the Empire's future. Get me Captain Chen, he said finally. When the connection was established, the Emperor spoke to the entire fleet. Captain Chen, I accept your terms. The officers responsible for the Procyon attack will be turned over to human custody for trial. A cheer went up from the rebellious ships. Even some of the loyalist vessels seemed relieved. Thank you, Your Majesty, Captain Chen replied. You've made the right choice. But the Emperor wasn't finished. However, I have a question for you. What happens now? You've broken my empire. Dozens of worlds are in rebellion. What comes next? That's up to you and your people to decide. But I'll make you an offer. Earth is willing to help mediate negotiations between the Empire and the rebellious worlds. We believe in justice, but we also believe in peaceful solutions. And why would you help us? Because breaking things is easy. Building something better is hard. We'd rather see this part of the galaxy become more just, not just more chaotic. The transfer of the Procyon officers took place the next day. As they were brought aboard the Retribution, Captain Chen spoke to them directly. You're going to Earth to face trial for the murder of 847 civilians. You'll be treated fairly, given good lawyers, judged by an impartial court. That's more consideration than you gave the people you killed. The lead officer, General Draktos, who had ordered the Procyon attack, looked at her with hatred. You've destroyed the Empire for a few primitives. No, Captain Chen replied. You destroyed the Empire when you decided that innocent lives didn't matter. We just made sure everyone knew about it. As the Retribution prepared to leave Imperial space, Captain Chen made one final broadcast to the galaxy. This is Captain Sarah Chen. 6 months ago, 847 people were murdered at Procyon. Today, justice begins for them. But this was never just about Procyon. This was about whether innocent life has value in this galaxy, whether right and wrong still matter, whether someone will stand up when the powerful hurt the powerless. She paused, looking at the camera. The answer is yes. Someone will always stand up. Someone will always remember. Someone will always come looking for justice. The galaxy is changing, and it's changing for the better. The Retribution jumped to hyperspace, carrying its prisoners toward Earth and justice. Behind it, the Zephyrian Empire began the long process of rebuilding itself into something worthy of its people's loyalty. And across the galaxy, other species who had suffered under various tyrants began to whisper among themselves. If humans would cross the void for justice, if one ship could bring down an empire by simply demanding what was right, then maybe change was possible. Maybe the age of unchallenged tyranny was ending. Maybe, finally, justice was coming to the stars. On distant Earth, Admiral Torres received Captain Chen's final report and smiled. The Retribution had done more than deliver justice for Procyon. It had announced to the galaxy that humanity was here, that they cared about right and wrong, and that they would never stop fighting for innocent life. It was, he thought, a good way to introduce humanity to the galactic community, Not as conquerors or traitors, but as protectors of the innocent and champions of justice. The galaxy would never be the same.